Shalom, my name is Meir Fachler, CEO of GemaraBoa and the team leader of the Core Standards for Teaching Gemara document. Join me to discover together how to study Gemara according to the Core Standards document and with the help of the Gemara Berura digital learning environment. The Core Standards document lists a total of 6 standards: Toshba essentials, subject matter concepts, vocabulary and text recitation, craft and structure, comprehension, relevance, and values. The goal of the standards is to enable students to learn Gemara independently. All of the standards are critical and one mustn't ignore any of them. But, as the standards document states, Standard 4, craft and structure, is the most important of all. Why is that? Let's divide Gemara into 2. We know that beyond the Gemara's division according to Masechet, Perek and Mishnah, the Gemara is divided into sugyot, and when we approach sugyot, we can divide this also into 2, content and structure. Each sugya has its own unique content, which varies from sugya to sugya, and constitutes what the Gemara says. On the other hand, the style, approach, and methodology that the Gemara uses to present the contents of the sugya is what constitutes what the Gemara does, and what it does is common to all sugyot. What Gemara does is that it presents the contents according to a methodology called Shakla Vetaria, meaning the give-and-take dialogue of the Talmudic discourse. Shakla Vetaria is made up of 10 major classifications. Let us elaborate. Pticha, statement, Hashlama, supplement, Sheilat Biro, inquiry, Kushiya, objection, Stira, contradiction, D'chiya, rejection, Tshuva Meve'eret, clarification, Tshuvat Ukimta, reassignment, Siyua, reinforcement, and Maskana, conclusion. The problem is that the Gemara does not tell us where each classification appears in the sugya. So how can we identify them? To solve this problem, our rabbis use a system of recurring keywords that indicate what each part of the sugya is doing in terms of Shakla Vetaria, such as inquiry, clarification, reinforcement, etc. Here is a table of some of the prominent examples of keywords that indicate the classifications of the Shakla Vetaria stages. For example, Tanu Rabbanan is a statement, Meitivei is an objection, Uriminu is a contradiction, Dichtiv is a reinforcement. Anyone who really wants to own Gemara learning must focus on and internalize the keywords so that they can easily identify the stages of the Shakla Vetaria. One of the greatest challenges in Gemara learning is that the Shakla Vetaria is not usually presented in a logical, orderly, linear sequence. On the contrary, it is usually presented in a very non-linear manner and is so complicated that it is sometimes extremely difficult to follow the flow of the sugya. Therefore, the standards document states unequivocally that the major basic skill set necessary to identify the sugya's non-linear structure of its Shakla Vetaria is a acronym DCC: divide, classify, connect. First, we need to divide the sugya into units of Shakla Vetaria. The next step is to classify each of the divided units into one of the 10 Shakla Vetaria classifications that describes the unit's role within the sugya. Then we need to connect the divided and classified units in order to obtain a visual representation of the sugya's Shakla Vetaria nonlinear structure. Let us see what it looks like when applying the DCC process using Gemara Berura. Let's begin with the first stage, divide. Let's take, for example, Brachot Kaf Vav Amud Aleph, the beginning of Perek Tfilat HaShachar. And here is the sugya as it appears in the Gemara Berura editor. In order to assist us in the task of dividing the sugya up into units of Shakla Vetaria, I have clicked on 2 buttons, the keyword button and the sages names button. Clicking on them highlights the keywords and sages respectively that appear in the sugya. And here is the sugya divided according to the keywords, sages' names, change of language, and other indicators. The next stage of the DCC process is classify. The task at hand is to classify the Shakla Vetaria units we have just created into the 10 Shakla Vetaria classifications. By clicking on the actual keywords, we get a definition as well as a suggested classification. In this example, we see that the word Uruminhu classifies this unit as a contradiction, and that the word Meitivei classifies the unit as an objection. And here is our sugya after all the units have been classified. Note that each unit is color-coded and has its own icon to define its own unique classification. The processes of division and classifying that we performed not only formats the text of the sugya, but also generates a flowchart. Here, for example, you can see the beginning of the flowchart, but still without connecting. And now to the last stage, connect. Once we have linked all the classified units according to context, we can clearly see on the right side the text of the sugya that reflects the connections between the classified units, whereby each tab to the left reflects a level of connection. And on the left, you can see the structure of the sugya as it is reflected in the flowchart. In addition, at the click of a button, we receive the formatted sugya arranged in an editable file within the internal Gemara Berura word processor. This file can, of course, be the basis of a worksheet with assignments such as filling empty cells, etc., and of course can be exported to PDF or copy-pasted into any other word processor. In summary, Gemara Berura allows teachers and students alike to figure out and internalize the DCC process according to the Shakla Vetaria classifications, which is the underlying skill required by the Core Standards document. Our experience teaches us that integrating the use of Gemara Berura in our Gemara classes creates a simplifying, refreshing, empowering, and enjoyable dimension to Gemara teaching. Thank you for joining me. All of us at Gemara Berura wish you a satisfying Gemara Berura experience. Check out our tutorial videos on our website and our YouTube channel.